See this? See this, folks? You see that? That is what I call a clean apartment. That's right. I accomplished my goals that I set up last night. And that's why I am a god. However, I didn't do any work on the game at all because I was busy cleaning my apartment. Don't judge me for it. It's okay though. I'm gonna get back to work tomorrow. I can't really see if this is set up right. Yeah, I didn't do anything on the game, but tomorrow I will. Tomorrow it's back to the regular routine. I got a bunch of things I still need to fix up. First of all, my sleep routine. Second of all, my diet. Third of all, too much social media. And not just social media, but also too much checking all the numbers on my accounts all the time. How many followers, how many subscribers, how many wish lists. It's very addictive, but also completely pointless most of the time. So I gotta cut that shit out. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good. I have to say, the video I posted last night, it was very freeing. Now having this outlet where I can say whatever the hell I want. It was the first time I've ever posted a video, woke up, checked it out, saw that it had like 40, 50 views, and I was like, nice. Like, that's it, you know what I mean? That it's like, oh, right, because the algorithm won't show it to anyone, basically, other than maybe some subscribers, because I'm not doing anything at all to try to get it to show to other people, right? So, ironically, I was pretty happy with that. And it feels like this way I can talk about whatever the hell I want. There's so many things I want to say about stuff that for various reasons I'm kind of nervous about saying, just because I don't want to get involved in certain things. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But this feels like I now have an outlet to do that because I know I'm not trying to exploit anything for clicks, since no one's going to see this shit anyway, unless for some reason people start watching it. So it's very freeing, and I felt very relieved, like there was a weight off my chest after I posted that video last night. So I'm really happy about this. I think it was a great idea, and I think this is going to free me up also to make it so that my videos, like my main videos for the game, can remain more focused on the game, and I won't be as concerned with like, how do I express this other side of myself while selling the game at the same time. You know, I can focus more just on the game, and here now is my outlet to talk about whatever the fuck I want. So yeah, pretty sweet. So social media stuff. It's so bad, man. I never used social media very much for most of my life. Like, I had a basic Facebook account, and even that, I would go through cycles of deleting my Facebook account, and then making a new one, and deleting it again, and even that I barely ever used it. I was never on Instagram or Twitter or any of that stuff. And I only started using Twitter. Well, okay, I first started using Instagram because I was using dating apps at the time, and I saw that people use it a lot to like connect with each other. So I thought, well, I guess I should make one for that reason. Isn't that fucking stupid? Isn't that so embarrassing? Like, that's why I have Instagram. And otherwise I don't give a shit about it. And after I made that account, what was interesting was, I guess just because I had it, I started to post random things from time to time. Like when I would go out and do things, just wherever, I would start to take pictures and videos of things, and I would post it on there. And I noticed when I started doing this, how in the far reaches of my mind, way in the back, there was always this voice that was really thinking about how other people are gonna see this, right? I'm not living in the moment, really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm thinking about how this will look to other people. And once I had that moment and that realization, I realized how, like, this is what people who post all the time on social media are doing. They're always fucking thinking about what other people are gonna see about what they're doing right now. And it totally ruined my ability to just sit there and enjoy it. And I'm the kind of person who normally wouldn't ever take photos of anything. I think a lot of guys are probably like that. And I hated that once I noticed that I started doing that. So I was like, fuck that. I stopped doing it. I even deleted a bunch of photos off of my account. And instead, now I do post once in a while, but it's like, it's only once in a very long while, and only because I see something that I actually think just makes for a really cool photo and it's something I want to capture. And I notice how now when I do that, I'm not thinking about other people seeing it. I just legitimately think it's cool and I put it on there and hey, whatever, other people think it's cool too. Cool, why not? It's almost more like a storage place for me now. But yeah, and then I got TikTok and Twitter and all this other shit too. And that was only because I felt like I had to for my game and my company. It's the easiest, cheapest means by which to advertise yourself. And then that's another thing I noticed is how so many people on all these platforms, that's all it is. It's like everyone just trying to sell themselves. And on the one hand, it's a good thing because it's a new way for people who otherwise wouldn't have the means to do so to share themselves with other people, to get their talents out there. I'm sure there's probably lots of people who have been discovered now because of that avenue. But the downside is it feels like it kind of takes away from the original intention of social media, right? Of just like sharing stuff with your family and friends and whoever, and just doing stuff for fun. Whereas now everything is commoditized. Everything. I notice the funny thing I see on Twitter all the time is someone posts some stupid shit like just for the fun of it, and then unexpectedly it blows up. They get 1 million likes, and the first post underneath every single thread like that is the original creator saying something like, "Oh, I didn't expect this to blow up so much. Hey, check out my website and here's my merch." Or whatever. It's always instantly trying to sell something to everyone. And like, I don't know, I get it, but at the same time it feels so like, fuck man, this is meant to be a way for people to connect with each other, and that's cool. And yet it's also just another way how every fucking aspect of your life has to become this commoditized marketing thing all the time. It's bad enough that you had to grow up seeing advertisements on TV all the time if you're around my age, but now you have to see advertisements all the time through social media, and the only difference now is the ads are more subtle. It's always someone trying to sell you some shit, but it just doesn't look like they're selling you something. It's like, no, this is an honest video I'm making now, or whatever, right? So anyway, the other thing I was going to say about social media is when I first downloaded even in just Instagram, but also most especially on TikTok, is really how insanely addictive that shit is and how unhealthy it is. Just within a few days of downloading that stuff and using it, it was crazy to me how compulsively I already noticed myself starting to use that stuff. I could sit there and scroll for hours. I'm not going to even pretend like I haven't done that on TikTok especially. And I think to myself, if I'm someone who hasn't used this stuff for most of my life, and I already find myself so compulsively affected by it, imagine what the kids growing up on this shit are like. The ones whose brains are being developed with this being a constant influence on them for the parents who let them do that stuff. Yo, you guys, your brains are fucking done. Like it's over. Like you just drop out of school. You guys are, there's like no fucking way you're gonna be able to get far in life if your attention span is just totally fucking broken from using this stuff. It really seems terrifying. And I don't know how true this is, but I hear a lot from teachers I see like reading on the internet a lot, just constant complaints from them of just how fucking awful kids are now to deal with and how insanely hard it is because of how widespread the addiction to phones is. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where it's just like older generations being like, oh, kids these days, and it's not actually that big of a deal. I don't know, but it seems pretty nuts to me. And I even recently saw a video on TikTok where some guy was saying, actually, there was a study showing that people who use TikTok a lot have a better attention span or something like that. And I don't know how the fuck that study was done, but it has to be wrong, because for me, even just using it recently, I've noticed how now at night I sit down to watch a movie, and if there's an even remotely boring scene for like 2 seconds, I immediately feel the impulse from my brain, like open my phone, open TikTok, like start scrolling while this scene finishes. You know what I mean? Like it's like all the time my brain wants to have like 10 different things going on. I'll be watching a YouTube video and have my phone at the same time, have a game running on another. Like it's so insane. It's so fucked up. It's so unhealthy. So anyway, cutting out social media, that is another big thing for me starting tomorrow. Now, one of the things you're probably going to notice for anyone who watches these is you'll go through my cycles of me breaking down towards all my bad habits and then being like, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to fix it. And then I will fix it. And I'll have a good long streak of having a really great daily routine. And then somehow, some way, I'll probably end up back to using that shit again. So it is what it is. But maybe, I'm hoping, because one thing I noticed is I was very highly motivated to clean my apartment today. because I didn't want to have to come on here and make an embarrassing video where I say I did nothing today, right? So now I have this, even though almost no one's watching this, I have this extra bit of motivation to be like, I should get some stuff done. But yeah. And then I was watching also, this was the thing I was going to talk about with regards to things that I've always thought about wanting to talk about or say on my channel through other videos, but I'm always really hesitant about. And it was recently with some drama on the internet with this guy, Pirate Software. So some people who've been watching my videos might remember that at the very beginning of this year, I made a video where I made fun of this one guy called like Red 16. His videos actually, or his channel has blown up now. I saw just recently, it's just pretty funny. So he seems to be doing well. But yeah, originally he was making these videos where he was kind of talking some shit about other developers and especially indie developers. And he was making these like really cheesy marketing style videos. And so I got kind of annoyed by them, and I thought it would make for really funny content just to poke some fun at him. So I did that. And I was always very hesitant about that because I don't want to get involved in internet drama type of stuff. I feel like it's really lowbrow, like the slimy kind of way to make yourself popular. And this is something I've always thought about with a lot of my videos, where I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of different ways I can think of that I think would definitely blow me up or get me like a lot of viewers really quickly. But they all feel bad to me and they all feel nasty. They're all things that are like, you know, I could make videos shitting on this guy. I could make fun of this. I could, you know what I mean? Just ride every like popular thing happening on the algorithm and make videos about it. And I think I'd be really good at that. And that was the first time, that Red 16 video was the first time where I went ahead and did something kind of like that. But even there, I wanted to be careful about the fact that I was doing it for the fun of it. Like, I don't actually hate this guy or dislike him. I don't actually want to create any drama. I just kind of want to poke a little fun at him because he's kind of talking a lot of shit. He's annoying me a little bit. But I don't want to take it too seriously or anything like that. And I guess something about the way I did it, I felt like, no, I think this will be okay, and I won't take this any further, and that's it. And I posted that video, and yeah, I just feel like that stuff is normally like really lowbrow, a really cheap way to try to get stuff. And I also felt like no one even, at the time, certainly nobody had any clue who this guy was either. So I felt for that reason also, it didn't feel like I was trying to like clickbait for clicks or anything like that. No one's gonna know about what I'm talking about here. But I still had that concern of how in the future, if I have more people listening to me, I don't want to encourage anyone to ever have the types of people following me who like go on the internet and like track people down and bombard their YouTube channels or start, you know, in the most insane circumstances, sending death threats and all that kind of pathetic, crazy shit. So that's why I was always reluctant about that stuff. But I posted that video, and even in that video, I remember right away, I started to already have a few people commenting. The video did decently well. It was one of my better ones, I think, in terms of performance, and I already saw people coming in and commenting things like, oh yeah, like fuck this guy, and like next you should make fun of like this developer or whatever. And the second I saw that, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. It's like, I don't want this. Like this is meant to be a one-off. Like I just thought this was really funny, so I thought I'd make a video about it. Yeah, and looking at, I don't know, just seeing that happen right away, I could see how like it's exactly what I predicted. Like, and this is a direction I don't really want to go in. I don't know. At the same time, now that I'm making this video though, because this is now what I was going to get into, I was going to say a little bit about what I think about this whole Pirate Software situation, which is kind of funny to me. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, where like even though I feel like I have something legitimate to say about this, I don't want to make a video about it to try to get more clicks or views. And yet I feel like I could. Hell, if I want to be really cynical, why don't I just make a whole video just like straight, you know how many videos are coming out right now on YouTube? I see them in my feed every day, like hundreds of thousands of views, and not even big channels, just like random people can come out with a video just being like, this guy, he fucking sucks, boom, instantly 100,000 views. It's so stupid and like such pathetic drama shit. But yeah, so for that reason, it's like I have things I want to say about it, but I don't want to become that kind of guy. And so I feel like these kinds of videos here though, this feels perfect to me because the algorithms presumably not going to pick up on me talking about this stuff, and I feel like I can do it in a setting that feels much more candid. I'm not trying to exploit anything for clicks or anything like that. So anyway, speaking of that, so this Pirate Software guy, in case anyone watching this doesn't even know what I'm talking about, which hopefully you don't, because it's really just the nerdiest, like, pathetic internet drama bullshit. But basically, this dude's some big streamer, and he popped up all of a sudden. He kind of blew up out of nowhere. I think about a year ago, he started showing up in a lot of people's YouTube shorts. That was where I first saw him. And the impression I got of him right away was he kind of rubbed me the wrong way. A lot of people just seem to instinctually dislike this guy. And I think it's because there's something about his style of delivery that feels very know-it-all. Like he's always talking about all these things he's done and explaining things to people that are actually really simple, but he does it in this way where he's like drawing stuff in Microsoft Paint or something. I don't know. But anyway, there's just something about the way he talks that feels like a know-it-all smug prick kind of guy, you know? And he hasn't done anything wrong, but that's sort of the vibe that comes across from him. And I think because of that, a lot of people, you just sort of naturally dislike him, even though he really hasn't done anything wrong. So a while back, I think like it's got to have been a few months now, there was this big drama with him because he was playing World of Warcraft with some friends of his, and they're in this dungeon where, like, I mean they're playing a version of World of Warcraft where if you die, your character gets permanently erased, right? So you could play this game for like a year, you do all this crazy stuff to upgrade your dude, and then like one little mistake, your guy dies and you have to start from the beginning. So naturally, emotions can run high if people make mistakes. And he's running this one dungeon with some friends of his, and somebody made a mistake. They told him that they needed to all run away so that hopefully they don't die. And then there was a big controversy, and a lot of people were pissed off because this pirate guy could have done stuff to save their group, but instead he sort of ran away more so to save himself. That was essentially the issue. And he took some accountability for it, but then he tried to argue also that, well, everyone else made mistakes too, which was technically true. But the point is he came across in the way that he usually comes across, which is he comes across as kind of like a smug prick who is unwilling to admit when he fucked up. And he always has to couch, and this is the big thing, is like he always has to frame any apology he gives as like, yes, I did this, but here's a big explanation of the context, and all these other people did this also, and you know what I mean? So obviously for most people, when you hear someone give you an apology for something, but then you give like all these explanations, it feels like, okay, you're not really apologizing, right? You're like trying to rationalize it, or you're trying to diminish what you did or whatever. And so obviously there's so many people out there, from what I mentioned before, who really dislike this guy. They just don't like him. That's it. There's not even a rational reason for it. So they're all holding their breath, probably waiting for a long time to have a reason to really jump down this guy's throat and be like, I knew he was a piece of shit. So the second this happened now, there's so many people who are just like bombarding his live streams and his YouTube channels and whatever. And a lot of them are even blatantly saying, I knew I had a reason for hating this guy, or like, I'm glad I hated this guy for so long for no reason. Now I have a reason, whatever. So my form of the kind of slop I consume on the internet, I guess, you know, like a lot of girls really like to watch a lot of reality TV show, dating type shows and whatever, which I can't pretend like I haven't watched some of those myself. But my main thing is internet drama stuff. That's the stuff when I need junk food for my brain. That's the shit that I read. So I didn't follow this like super close, but I got the gist of what was going on. And so then a while later, he got into trouble or a lot of people got pissed with him because he got into another controversy now where there was some dude on YouTube who started some kind of initiative about trying to preserve games when they're no longer being supported by companies. Like if you have a live service game and the company decides to close the game down, well, now you literally can't play the game. And so he wanted to do some kind of initiative to get people to vote for some law in Europe that would make it so companies have to offer some kind of way for players to be able to play their game after they no longer support it and whatever. So then Pirate Software makes, I guess, a video or on stream maybe talked about this guy and his initiative, but he disagreed with him because of, I don't know, whatever reasons. And a lot of people who play games were pissed off about this because naturally, as someone who plays games, you're going to be on the side of, well, yeah, obviously I want to be able to play my games just because I should be able to play my games even if the company goes bankrupt or whatever. So naturally, and on top of combined with the fact that everyone already who isn't a fan of this guy really fucking hates him. So they start, again, he gets like fucking bombarded with all this hate just for disagreeing with this guy. He didn't just disagree with him. It sounded like he was also kind of a dick to him and was doing his usual smug prick kind of attitude about it. And yeah, and then all of these accusations flying back and forth about people calling him a liar, that he misrepresented the initiative and all this kind of stuff. Okay. So anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning all this is last night I randomly on YouTube was shown a video of this one psychologist doing a live stream with Pirate Software. And this guy's name is like Dr. K, and I think the channel is called like Healthy Gamer GG, I think it was called. I've seen this guy show up in a lot of little videos that get fed to me, but I've never really watched much of his stuff. All I know is he's some kind of professionally trained therapist, psychologist type, and he occasionally does these videos where he streams with some kind of big streamer and they'll talk about mental health stuff. And it seems like sometimes he gets into personal issues that these streamers have and gives them what seems to be essentially a therapy session. So he did this with Pirate Software, and they specifically discussed this whole situation with all these people constantly bombarding all of his streams and his videos and everything. And specifically that it seemed to be so out of proportion that in general, streamers always, and people who are on the internet, you're always going to get some bullshit. There will always be some controversy that happens, and whenever there's any drama, you'll get a group of weirdos and losers on the internet who come and give you death threats and do all this kind of stuff. But that what was exceptional about his case is just the amount of it. That it was not only that there was so much of it, but also that it just went on for so long that like 100 days later, people are still coming into his live stream and spamming his chats and doing all that kind of stuff. And so the psychologist was trying to get him to think about, why is that the case? Like, why you specifically are you getting like this disproportionate amount of hate compared to what usually happens to streamers and stuff? And he just couldn't get through to this guy that, because he kept, the pirate guy kept insisting that he tries to look at everything objectively, that everything is about the facts of the matter, and that when he tries to explain things, it's always about context and getting to people to understand what really happened, and that he always provides evidence for what he's talking about and so on. But the psychologist is trying so hard to explain to him that it's not about whether you're right or wrong. It's about how people react to you, how they perceive you. It's not like the fact that you go on to explain, like you apologize for something, but then you add all this context. It's not that what you're saying is wrong. It's just that people read it as you're not really sorry because you're constantly trying to like explain a bunch of extra stuff. You're constantly saying, yeah, I'm wrong, but here's all this other stuff. And it was kind of interesting for me because I guess it made me reflect on myself a little bit, especially when I was younger, because I used to do the exact same kind of thing that this guy's doing and that he's kind of, that he's guilty of doing, he's okay, he can like admit that he's wrong, but he can't do it without qualifying it all the time, of always having to provide all these intricate little details of this happened and this happened and this happened, rather than simplifying it. And that was a problem I had a lot when I was younger, where you're not trying to, and really this issue comes from a really deep-seated self-centeredness. One of the big revelations I had about myself several years ago was that I had a really self-centered way of thinking. I would assume bad things about people, and I would react based on that assumption. Even in cases, and most especially, most importantly, in cases where if I put myself in their shoes, I can see that actually their reaction is pretty reasonable, and I can understand why they're acting towards me the way that they are if I just try to think about their point of view and mindset. And when I understand that point of view, I realize that, well, actually, I was the one who's kind of being a dick because I'm totally ignoring, I'm completely ignoring their point of view, and I'm just looking at it from mine, and I'm making all these assumptions about why they did what they did. But actually, those assumptions don't make any sense if I understand their point of view, and then I realize that, oh, actually, yeah, I guess in their situation, I might do the same thing, whatever. And so, even when somebody is acting crazy or what seems like crazy to you, I mean, in some situations, sometimes people really are just assholes and they're being unreasonable. And obviously, some of the people sending him death threats and stuff are like, okay, yeah, those guys are, those people are just crazy. But when you look at it as a whole, and the psychologist had a point here that you're getting like so much more hate, that there's something specific about you that's triggering these people, that it should make you stop and question your perception of things, right? Like, why do people feel this way about you specifically? And even if they're wrong about it, that they might have a perception of you that's worth understanding, if only so that you can like see if there's a way that you can maybe communicate differently that won't like upset and trigger people so much, regardless of whether you're right or wrong, right? And yeah, he seemed to really struggle with grasping the idea that it's not about being right or wrong, and it's not about just your perception of how people seem crazy to you, that it's also about trying to understand other people's point of view and realize that you can learn something from that might tell you something that's about your own point of view being a little bit too narrow, and not being able to open your mind to something bigger, right? So anyway, I had a lot to say there, but honestly, I just find it all very amusing. And like I said, I can't lie, I kind of dislike the guy myself too. So seeing it all blow up in his face and he's like never learning anything from it, it's pretty entertaining to watch, I have to say. It's not good, it's not healthy, it's not a good thing that I'm entertained by it, but yeah, nevertheless. And I think that's one thing I have to admit to too, is I think that precisely because he reminds me of myself, and especially when I'm younger, or when I was younger, I think that's part of why it pisses me off too, is that he's wrong in a way that I've been critical of for myself. You know, when you see that sometimes like the things that you hate in other people, you hate so much precisely because they are the things that you hate about yourself the most, right? And you criticize them really harshly, and maybe even sometimes you're ignorant of the fact that you yourself are like that. But I guess I like to think that now I've become self-aware enough that I get why I dislike him. I can see how the way he argues and the way he reasons, I'm like, yeah, I used to do that shit all the time too. But I don't know how old he is either. I feel like he's around my age too, and I feel like he should probably know better by now, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe he's younger. I don't really know. Same with guys like, I see a lot of guys like Destiny is another streamer like this too, where I feel like he makes me think of if I were a more unhinged version of myself. Like that's how I see guys like Destiny too. And he's another guy who I like really fucking hate too. And I recognize it because of that. Because I'm like, he reminds me of me when I was in like high school, and like what a fucking prick I was when I would argue with people about like every pedantic little thing. So anyway, I feel like a big part of maturing when it comes to this stuff is not just being self-aware, but also learning to let that stuff go and realize that it's not that big of a deal. And I feel like that's the simplest way of describing this Pirate Software guy situation. It's like you could avoid all this trouble by just being like, yeah, my bad, I screwed up, and that's it. But he's so like, well, if I did that, that's dishonest because I don't explain all this stuff, which is actually what he said to the psychologist guy. And it's just It really is just such a like childish, like, no, I'm not gonna. Why would I have to do that? Whatever. It's like, I feel like you realize when you're older that. I think that he has. I mean, there are two different ways of dealing with that situation because at the end of the day, you don't necessarily want to change just because a bunch of people on the internet are mad at you. But you have to pick one of two paths. You can't really go in the middle, right? You have to either say, okay, yeah, my bad, I was in the wrong. Like, if you want to be the good guy, then you just apologize and you leave it at that. And don't offer excuses, don't whatever. The other path is you don't give a shit. You just say, fine, I'll be the villain. And everyone comes to you and say, well, you didn't apologize. Probably say, whatever, fuck you, suck my dick. You know what I mean? But that's it. You have to go all the way. You pick one or the other. If you want to be the good guy, then apologize properly. Stop with all the explanations and just be like, yeah, my bad. You know, take the loss and be like, all right, I'll try not to be as much of a dick in the future, and that's it. But it feels like he doesn't know how to do that. So he's riding this middle line, or I think he really wants to be the good guy. And I think this because he's always posting on Twitter and stuff about all this nice stuff that he does. Like, I remember he posted about how he gave a bunch of benefits and all this nice stuff to his employees. Nice thing to do, but the only reason for posting that on Twitter is to make yourself look good, right? Like, you can just give all those benefits to your employees and not make a whole tweet about it to the world, right? So he clearly likes to create a good image for himself, which I understand it. I don't think that's the way you should go about doing things. I don't think it's morally ideal to try to get ego stuff out of doing nice things for people, but I understand it. But yeah, he wants to be, so I assume because of that he wants to be the good guy, but if you want to be the good guy, I guess you're gonna have to learn how to apologize properly, bro. You have to learn to gain a little social, emotional intelligence here and realize that people don't give a shit if you're right in a situation or about your explanations if you come off like a fucking asshole, right? So, anyway. As for the game, like I said, I didn't get anything done today. But tomorrow, I think tomorrow I'm going to get the music up on the streaming platforms. I'll probably post another YouTube video. And I'm sure I'll have time, assuming I get myself back on schedule with all the other stuff I said that I wanted to do. I will probably get some other stuff done as well. I have to space things out when it comes to the promotional material, so I might even just get started again on the full version of the game. I was really hoping by now that I would have not only started, I was hoping that by the end of June I would have had like the whole first act of the game done, because we do have all the art for it is already finished. I pretty much just have to plug everything in, except for the boss fight. I have to go back and take a look at that. A lot of stuff has changed since I first designed the boss fight, so I'm probably gonna have to redo that practically from scratch. So yeah, anyway, either way, I gotta get back into it. I'm definitely a good month or so behind schedule. Could be tough, but I believe in myself, and I'm having a great time making these videos. I'm really enjoying this and this whole project of not giving a shit. Pretty sweet. I'll see y'all tomorrow.